They're rendered stateless in their own country and forced to flee their homes in Myanmar to escape the violence and persecution. Many were tortured, trafficked, and abused. Desperate to survive, they've risked their lives for a chance at a better life, living as refugees or immigrants in foreign lands. But until today, they still find themselves stateless, with no place they can call home. They're scattered all over the world, some living in refugee camps or struggling to survive as exiles in major cities. Will countries like Malaysia continue to offer them sanctuary, and for how long? Will they be able to secure their own future by creating their new home away from home? Rohingya refugees have been arriving in Malaysia since the early 1990s. At this low-cost complex in Kuala Lumpur lives a community made of Rohingya refugees who've made this place their home for the past decade. Hashim Zakir Hussain is a Rohingya community leader. He's among those who've made the treacherous journey to Malaysia to escape the persecution and the constant clashes between Muslims and Buddhist communities in Myanmar.
Saya tinggal sini 30 tahun. Daripada Myanmar bandar ke kampung, saya naik bot pergi laut, aku jumpa bot Thailand. Itu tangkap ferry yang tangkap ikan Mia tu. Saya minta tolong sama dia orang, ikut dia masuk Thailand. Dari Thailand sebagaimana datang Malaysia, saya ikut lalu belakang hutan. Lepas itu saya masuk daripada sana, saya masuk Kota Baru. Masuk daripada Kota Baru, saya masuk KL. Kita tidak dapat senang di Myanmar. Sekolah kita tak senang. Sekolah pun tak boleh, belajar pun tak boleh. Lagi pun tak mampu buat kerja pun tak ada. Macam masa kecil kita ni, kita sudah tengok perang dekat Myanmar sana. Lawan sama Buddhis dengan Islam. Bila kita pergi naik bandar, dia orang macam tengok macam serupa kita sama kita, dia orang tak puas hati. Terus kita pun tak syok sangatlah. Bila macam malam siang kita sini tengok siang malam sama juga di Malaysia. Kita suka hati bagaimana pun. Tidak ada orang ditanya. Janji kita tak buat salah kerja. Tak buat salah diri.
In 2013, there was a high influx of Rohingya refugees into Malaysia due to the continuing unrest back in Myanmar. Rohingyas were being increasingly persecuted by the government. Fearing for their lives, many of them fled the country in search of a better life. A United Nations report has accused the Myanmar government of systematic genocide against the Rohingyas and other minorities in the country.
It's been very difficult for Rohingya over decades because their movement has been restricted and they have been gradually ostracized from some of those, basic streams of life that educate generations, that provide food on the table, that just sustain life. And on top of that, there's been quite a serious layer of discrimination against that population. And that has made life extremely hard. Obviously, that has been coupled with violence, communal violence back in 2011, then again in more recent times and at a much more violent scale in 2017.
Among the alleged crimes committed by the military include extrajudicial killings, raping, and killing of women and children. Many of the Rohingya villages were also burnt to the ground.
Masa kita masa kecil, kita nampak lawan perang itu kita sudah takut. Bila dia orang mau serang dengan orang Islam, dia orang datang orang macam serupa kira contoh dia orang punya kampung kan Islam punya kampung lain. Dia orang datang sengaja juga dia orang datang saja juga dia orang cari baksa.
The Rohingyas are denied basic human rights as the Myanmar government does not recognize the Rohingyas as citizens of the country. The Rohingyas have been branded as illegal migrants, a claim that the Rohingyas strongly deny.
Saya punya atu lahir di sana, saya punya papa lahir di sana, saya lahir di sana. Kita bukan datang dari mana-mana pun.
Many Rohingyas fled to neighboring Bangladesh, putting tremendous pressure on the host government. A majority of them have been living in refugee camps in Cox's Bazar. However, in recent years, the Myanmar government appears to be ready to welcome back the Rohingya. In August 2019, the Myanmar government announced that they are working with the Bangladeshi government to repatriate some of the Rohingyas back to Myanmar. However, no Rohingya has taken up on that offer.
There has been some interest, but it's been very limited on part of the refugee population. And the reason why it's been limited is because there hasn't been that confidence in that they will be able to return to the places where they came from and that they will be able to resume the life that they had before and rebuild that back.
Hashim, for one, will not consider returning to Myanmar until the people can be guaranteed of their safety and will no longer be subjected to constant harassment by the security forces.
Saya rasa kerajaan memang bodoh. Suka hati buat macam mana saja kerajaan memang. Nak balik macam mana? Dalam negeri ada Rohingya itu pun tidak ada diselamat. Tidak ada disenang. Duduk dalam camp. Bantuan orang makan. Sendiri tak boleh cari makan. Sendiri tak boleh kerja. Sendiri pergi bandar tak boleh tengok. Sendiri pergi keluar mana-mana negeri tak boleh keluar. Macam mana nak orang Rohingya luar negeri nak balik?
While most Rohingyas are living in the refugee camps of Bangladesh, a large number of Rohingyas have also found refuge in other countries. Malaysia has the largest number of Rohingya refugees in Southeast Asia. However, Malaysia is not a signatory of the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. Therefore, refugees still do not officially have legal status in Malaysia and have no legal rights.
The situation has been such as in much of the region. So Malaysia is not very different from neighboring countries like Indonesia and Thailand. It's been ad hoc, right? There's been a recognition from a humanitarian point of view that there are people who need protection and who have been coming to Malaysia over time and they've been tolerated. And I think the collaboration that UNHCR and the government of Malaysia has had is to sort of try and come to some compromises in that environment that is convention, free.
Despite not being a signatory of the Refugee Convention, the Malaysian government still works with UNHCR and accepts the presence of refugees in Malaysia.
Malaysia is a very unique country that has had a kind of a one eye open, one eye closed policy on refugees. In one sense, Malaysia has done proud and well to allow them in, despite not signing the Refugee Convention. So I would say well done to Malaysians, to the governments before and now, for still having a kind of a compassionate response to this. But we realize that in dealing with a community which is different from usual society, they are fleeing from persecution and fleeing for fear of life. That's the only reason they run across borders, because there's some conflict. They are a different type of community because they're either traumatized, they are in a foreign land, they don't know what to do, and they're hoping one day they can go back. So everything is very transient. And if they don't have a rights regime that gives them some protection and dignity, it makes it even more difficult.
As for the Rohingyas, even though they are not legally recognized in Malaysia, they would prefer to stay in Malaysia instead of returning to their homeland in Myanmar.
So ini baru jadi, saya tengok ini semalam jadi berlaku ni di Myanmar. Potong-potong dengan ikat, pukul. Banyak sangat risau. Saya punya pakcik, saya punya makcik, saya punya datuk, saya punya datin semua. Satu kampung ada saudara saya. Orang memang kata Arkan sudah aman. Banyak orang dekat dalam kamp. Sendiri punya rumah tinggal, kasih bakar, kasih hancur. Semua sudah ambil diorang.
But will their future be better if they decide to stay on in Malaysia instead of returning home to Myanmar? Is remaining in Malaysia a viable option? And if so, for how much longer? Rohingyas in Malaysia often live on the margins of society. Over the years, they've managed to survive in spite of all the challenges and difficulties of not being citizens of the country. And many have settled down in different corners of Malaysia. The towns of Gombak and Selayang, for example, have been home to generations of Rohingyas. Although they're happy with their new home, many of them simply can't cope with the high cost of living in the city. Ghani and Haji have been living in Malaysia for over a decade. In an attempt to save money, both their families live under the same roof where they share the rent.
Saya nak kita nak duduk, susah sekali kenapa orang lama lagi. Lepas tu sewa rumah bulan tak dapat, sini duduk susah. Lepas tu anak-anak ada 9 orang ada anak, 3 ada orang tua. Cari makan susah. Lagi mau pergi keluar nanti tangkap. Rumah ada sewa tu 500, air api ada 100. Sewa 500, kita nak separuh-separuh nak bayar 2,5. Satu hari untung ada tu lebih kurang 30, 35, lebih kurang 40. Ini macam kalau kerja boleh ada dapat duit, tak kerja pun tak ada duit. Susah banyak, susah sekarang. Saya ada anak tu, dua-dua ada sekolah, lagi kisah ada 2 sekolah, 4 orang. Empat kali tu ada tu anak sekolah, saya kerja 1 orang, tak boleh tahan. Susah kita kadang-kadang dapat cari makan, nak kerja time nanti 2 bulan, 3 bulan, dapat tu nak kumpul mau bayar. Hari-hari pun tak boleh bayar lagi.
It can be quite difficult for Rohingyas to find a place to live, as some homeowners are reluctant to rent their property to Rohingyas.
Takut tak dapat bayar sewa, lagi pun satu orang Rohingya tak apa kemas. Di rumah pun tak kemas. Duduk pun tak kemas.
One of the biggest challenges for Rohingyas in Malaysia is that they are still not officially recognized by the Malaysian government. As of August 2019, there are over 170,000 refugees and asylum seekers registered with UNHCR in Malaysia. Registered refugees are issued UNHCR cards.
It's a document that's issued by UNHCR under its global mandate of protection. So it's not a government document. And the advantage that the refugee card at this point provides is based on what I initially talked about, that understanding between us and the government that people should not be arrested and prosecuted for immigration offences.
Despite not being provided with a government-issued document, the UNHCR card has helped prevent Rohingyas from being detained.
Bila saya keluar jalan, kadang-kadang polis tahan. Dia tengok pasal dokumen. Bila kita dah dapat dokumen, nampak UN card, dia sudah lepas.
However, the UNHCR card has its own limitations. For example, it does not allow the Rohingyas to work in Malaysia. And that has posed tremendous difficulties for the Rohingyas to support their families and put food on the table.
Ini tambah saya kumpul-kumpul barang itu plastik, kota. Ini ada ais putih, rosa yang tak pakai. Ini pun kita buka-buka yang dalam ada sampah buang, lepas tu atas kulit dia bisi, kita jual. Saya jual, naik lori, saya jual.
The Rohingyas are not able to find permanent work here because it would be deemed illegal for employers to hire them. Therefore, many of them work in odd jobs like collecting scrap metal.
Cari dari jauh-jauh, dari Kelang, dari Sungai Peluh. Orang buang, kita kutip ada. Orang-orang panggil, kasih yang orang kasih pun ada. Lepas itu jual saya, sini ada kedai-kedai besar-besar ada, sana-sana jual. Suka tak suka pun kita boleh makan itu sajalah. Kita ada adik-beradik, ada kampung mau hantar uang lagi. Ada polis ga, MPS ga, semua orang mari tengok. Saya kasih paham dia orang, kasih ulang balik dia orang balik, kasih.
While they may not be able to work legally in this country, some believe that Malaysia will benefit more if the government is able to relax the rules by allowing Rohingyas to work. That's also the position taken by IDEAS, the Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs, an independent public policy think tank based in Kuala Lumpur.
So we undertook this study into the economic impact of granting refugees in Malaysia the right to work. What we would expect to see is higher participation rate in the labour market and higher wages. You see higher spending by the refugee population, and that spending serves to stimulate the wider economy in terms of overall levels of GDP, as refugees have more money to spend on goods and services produced in Malaysia. And then that, as a result, has a positive impact in terms of public finances, because you see greater expenditure by refugees would result in higher revenues in terms of collection of SST, the sales and services tax in Malaysia. So because when we give refugees the right to work, they earn more, they pay more in taxes. We estimate that within 5 years of granting refugees the right to work, they would contribute over 50 million ringgit in taxes. That would contribute an additional 3 billion ringgit to GDP every year.
Lawrence fears that by continuing to prevent refugees from working, it will only make them more vulnerable to exploitation.
They have no labour market protections in terms of, for example, minimum wage, but they also just don't have any legal protections, full stop. So even recourse to the police is a very risky option for a refugee, because they are routinely detained and cannot work illegally, so they can't make any complaints.
But the Malaysian government also has its own dilemma. While it wants to address the major concerns facing these refugees, it's not willing to entertain the possibility of more refugees crossing the borders into Malaysia, lured by the prospects of better lives.
I think the other issue the government perceives in granting refugees work rights is what we call the pull factor. So the fear that this will lead to increased refugee flows into Malaysia. I personally wouldn't anticipate some significant growth in the number of refugees that come to Malaysia. So for me, I think approaching it from the lens of the pull factor is the wrong way to look at it, but I do think this is a factor that weighs on the government's mind.
Unable to legally work, how do the Rohingyas pay for their children's education? What will happen if they fall ill? Will it pose a huge burden to the country? Malaysia has the largest number of Rohingya refugees in Southeast Asia. They fled Myanmar fearing for their safety, but choose to come to Malaysia because of their faith and belief that they will be safe.
Paling ramai datang dari Malaysia. Nombor 1 sebagai negara Islam. Daripada ASEAN dalam mana-mana negeri, paling lebih dapat aman di Malaysia. Tak kaya, kalau pun tak jadi kaya, kalau bukan Rohingya fikir mau kaya. Rohingya fikir mau senang dan aman. Dalam Malaysia, sampai sekarang kita duduk, tak pernah saya nampak tepi jalan orang gaduh. Tak pernah saya nampak keluar parang-parang, orang lari, orang botong-botong. Saya masuk negara Malaysia, pas saya dengar saya azan. Lepas tu saya masuk surau, saya buat solat. Saya solat minta doa kepada Allah, mudah-mudahan Allah akan selamatkan, hidupkan life saya, keluarga saya.
While the Rohingyas might not experience the same level of violence as they would see back home, they still face significant risk of being detained in Malaysia. The Immigration Department of Malaysia frequently conducts raids throughout the country to detain foreign nationals who've broken immigration law.
Rekod operasi keseluruhan daripada 1 Januari sehingga 15 Mac, 3,844 operasi telah dijalankan di seluruh negara. Kita memeriksa seramai 57,804 orang warga asing, dan daripada jumlah yang kita tahan ini, Indonesia masih lagi merupakan warga yang tertinggi, iaitu 4,351, seterusnya Myanmar 1,991, dan mereka yang telah ditahan di depo-depo adalah seramai 12,492 parti.
By our understanding in Malaysia, that card is supposed to afford you some protection against harassment by authorities when you're stopped. But we still hear stories, despite having the card, they still get harassment. Say, it's not real, you better. So there's some rogue elements and corrupt elements in the police and immigration that still gets money from these people, which is sad. But those without the cards, like the Rohingyas, the same process. You will be arrested and you're called illegal, you're brought to court, charged without document. Go to jail, after jail, go to detention center, and then in detention center, you wait for deportation.
Detained Rohingyas are often sent to detention centers, and some of these detention centers have a reputation for their poor living conditions.
Many of the detention centers are older facilities taken over and then made into immigration detention centers. And I think there's about 13,000 people in detention centers now, and 1 or 2 are fairly new, just built. But overcrowding is quite a common thing in these places. So the older ones, wooden, toilet conditions not the best.
Motivated by an acute sense of fear and desperation, some Rohingyas try to bribe police officers to avoid being detained. According to Hashim, these practices are pretty common here.
Saya minta tolong sama polis lah. Saya sendiri kena bagi belanja. Kalau dia tak mau, saya kena baksa dia belanja. Karena anak polis tidak ada ambil duit. Tidak bagi saman. Bagi warning.
Buku 5 tu jalannya ada polis, kalau nampak boleh bagi password. Indonesian saya takut kalau ada password, terdapat password bagi duit 50 100 Indonesian.
Most Rohingyas hope that their next generation would have a better life than they had. They believe that the key lies in education, something that most did not have back in Myanmar.
Paling penting di dunia ilmu. Bila orang tidak ada ilmu, bila tidak ada pelajaran, dia macam serupa mata buta. Berapa susah pun kita akan usaha nak belajar. Tapi masa depan, anak-anak kita, anak-anak rakyat kami semua, jangan jadi buta.
But as refugees in Malaysia, the Rohingyas have no access to government schools. Without proper education, many of them are facing an uncertain future.
Sekolah kerajaan memang tak boleh. Tak dapat.
Kenapa?
Tak ada pasal tak ada dokumen. Ayah tak ada dokumen, mak tak ada dokumen, anak pun tak ada dokumen. Bila saya minta diskon, dia kata sudah diskon. 150 biasa orang bayar 300 kata. Orang pasport kena bayar 300.
Despite the discounted school fees, Hashim still finds it difficult to keep up with his payments. That has left the school with no choice but to issue a stern warning, and that includes expulsion if the fees are not paid.
Ini dia kasih surat notis. Kalau tak boleh bayar minggu ini, dia sudah tak boleh sekolah lagi.
Dengan kesal, kami ingin memaklumatkan Tuan Puan bahawa anak Tuan Puan tidak dapat menghadiri kelas dari 1 Julai 2019 kerana sumbangan tertunggak yang tinggi 930. Satu orang saya punya 1,080, adik punya 1,080. Jumlah RM2,160.
Untuk 2 orang saja?
Itu 2 orang je.
Yang 3 orang, yang abang belum lagi?
Abang 300. Abang 300. 300 berapa tu?
InsyaAllah segera bapak akan cubakanlah bayaran itu.
Besides employment and education, the Rohingyas also have great difficulty accessing affordable health care. In Salayan, NGOs set up a makeshift charity clinic at a community center once a month. Here, doctors and trained volunteers provide free health care treatment to refugees in need.
Okay, so pain is when she's sitting, lying down. So pain is it from here to here or only here? Okay. Jadi ubat sama kita teruskan ya. Okay, kalau ada masalah apa bila makan ubat, bila kita dapat ubat kita balik ya. Okay.
Ini gula tinggi lagi lah. 14. Tak boleh. Kena kurang. 7. Ini mau 7.
Basic medication is also provided free of charge.
Saya bagi ubat tu, satu ubat tu, makan lepas makan 3 kali 1 hari. Jadi kalau sakit sangat baru makan, kalau tak sakit tak payah makan.
Rohingyas find it difficult to access health care at public clinics and hospitals. As non-citizens, they do not enjoy the same subsidized health care as Malaysian citizens enjoy.
Kalau pun orang Malaysia bayar RM1, kita kena bayar 100, kita pun terima. Kita sendiri, kita boleh perasaan kita bukan orang sini. Kita tumpang di dulu sini. Bukan negara asal kita.
It's especially difficult for Rohingya women to afford the health care they need while they are pregnant, like Shamila. Shamila is expecting her child in a few months, but she has been struggling with the increased expenses that come with frequent checkups.
Saya pun nak bayar dekat klinik tu susah juga. Saya pun tak cukup duit. Kena utang lagi. Lagi 2-3 hari kita pergi bayar lah, pinjam dengan orang macam tu ada. Saya nak pergi cek sana pun susah, nak pergi sana pun susah. Ada kena bayar taksi lagi, apa lagi kan. Saya selalu datang. Mak saya pun selalu datang. Setiap bulan lah. Adik saya pun selalu ada. Yang sini punya yang saya suka yang bagus sebab dia bagi ubat pun apa pun semua bagus punya. Saya selalu suami saya sakit pun pergi beli ubat dekat farmasi pun tak ada bagus.
Having access to healthcare once a month has been helpful, but it still does not meet all the refugees' healthcare needs. The Rohingyas still wish they had better access to more affordable public healthcare.
Dulu kita pergi daftar RM7.5, sekarang kita pergi daftar saja RM60. Saya menggaji satu hari pun tak ada, sudah RM60. Sudah daftar RM60, itu orang sakit hospital tak mau terima sebelum bayar deposit. Mesti kena bayar deposit RM2,000. Ada UN card pun kena bayar juga. Susah macam mana pun, tak ada duit macam mana pun, miskin macam mana pun kena bayar juga. Tidak dibayar, tidak terima.
While refugees like the Rohingya are suffering in Malaysia, the Malaysian government has announced their intention to study ways to help them. However, thus far, no detailed plans have been revealed.
I think the government's position on the refugee question is quite complicated. I think that they recognise that this is a highly disadvantaged group, and I also think that Malaysia has taken some more commendable action from a foreign policy perspective in terms of condemning, say, the actions of Myanmar. However, that doesn't seem to translate to a decision by the Malaysian government to accommodate the refugees that are here and give them that legal status, despite that being what was promised in the government's manifesto.
Are there any solutions for the Rohingyas who are living in Malaysia? Will the government of Malaysia act to improve the lives of these people? Or will it be left to the community to fend for themselves? The Rohingyas in Malaysia have taken it upon themselves to help their own community. Some have set up Rohingya refugee schools to help educate their own children. Rafiq Shah, a Rohingya community leader, runs the Rainbow of Love School in Selayang.
Di kawasan sekitar Selayang Baru ini, kita ada hampir lebih pada 10,000 para pelarian yang tinggal. Kami dapati ada hampir 600 ke 700 kanak-kanak yang memerlukan pendidikan. So kami pun tak boleh ambil ke semua. Kami boleh ambil paling tinggi pun 100 orang saja.
The teachers here are all volunteers and receive no salary. Students are taught the local language, Bahasa Malaysia, English, and mathematics. They also attend religious classes.
Kita ajar dia supaya dia balik di rumah, dia boleh mengajar ibu bapa dia. Apa yang dia belajar di sini, dia boleh mengajar balik ibu bapa dia sekurang-kurangnya A, B, C, D dan sebagainya. Kebanyakan para pelarian di Malaysia ini akan dihantar ke negara ketiga. Resettlement dia akan buat. So kami di sini sediakan budak-budak ini jika mereka ini terpilih ke negara ketiga. Jadi sekurang-kurangnya diorang sudah ada basic.
Rafiq strongly believes that they should also teach the students the local culture to ease their assimilation into Malaysian society.
Yang lelaki, Ke belakang. Belakang lagi. Now straight.
Every morning, the students gather round to sing Negaraku, the Malaysian national anthem.
Saya rasa dia pun harus tahu lagu negara ini, kerana bila kita belajar hafal lagu negara, dan tentu dia akan ada elemen kesetiaan kepada negara itu.
Despite trying their best to fit in, Rohingyas are still not given any government-issued documents. That makes it impossible for Rohingya children to attend government schools.
Kerana kita tidak boleh dapat akses pendidikan di negara ini, kerana memang itu undang-undangnya begitu kan.
However, Rohingya children can attend classes here without needing any documents. The school fees here are significantly lower compared to private schools. Even then, parents still have a hard time paying for the fees.
Kami cuba letak satu pelajar RM20 saja. Tetapi untuk makluman, tak ada pelajar pun yang mampu bayar. Kalau katalah kita ada 100 pelajar, yang boleh bayar hanya 10% sahaja.
With minimal collection of school fees, the school has to rely on the generosity of the public to stay open.
Itu dari segi funding, kita ada beberapa NGO yang kita kerjasama dan mereka juga ada membantu kita sikit, dan kita banyakkan kita public funding lah. Untuk makluman, memang kita tidak ada apa-apa bantuan kewangan daripada kerajaan ataupun daripada UNHCR, tak ada. Sejak awal penubuhan, memang kita kena cari sendirilah semua ini. Sebab itu kami sentiasa mengharapkan masyarakat antarabangsa, ataupun kerajaan Malaysia sendiri beri sedikit akses, terutama sekali pendidikan ini. Kerana hampir 30 lebih tahun, apa akan jadi nasib kanak-kanak ini, generasi kedua, ketiga ini kan? Selepas itu terpulanglah, at least dia ada pendidikan lah. Lepas tu dia nak buat apa, dia nak kerja, nak apa, senang lah.
While the Rohingya community are trying to find solutions to their problems, the private sector in Malaysia is also getting involved in helping them. Care Clinic, a chain of 24 clinics in Klang Valley, has partnered with UNHCR to aid refugees with affordable health care. Rabi Zamut is a Rohingya refugee who got into an accident while riding his motorcycle. A car hit him, and he suffered cuts, bruises, and a broken arm. He went to a nearby government hospital for an operation. He couldn't afford to pay for it, so his friends had to help him out. Since then, he's been following up his treatment at care clinics, which he finds more affordable. Each visit here will only cost him 50 ringgit, including the medication.
At the moment, care clinics, we are subsidizing somewhere around 25 to 35% of the cost. We have been doing that. We do have a certain budget allocation for such cases, especially for those who can't afford, including refugees and undocumented migrants. Is a small percentage CSR that we have already allocated. So it is not really taking up into our profitability. Of course, some of the profits actually we are channeling it back to the society. So only thing with the refugees is about the cost. We tell them much earlier what is our cost, and we try to cap whatever we do within that 50 ringgit. Sometimes the cost goes beyond that, but we do see what is the rate like, because we do have allocated budget for the asylum seekers and refugees. So as long as everything is within our budget, we try to provide as much as we can. So we do cover everything. Yeah, we do what can be done at the primary care setting. So when it needs a secondary or tertiary care, we do send them to the secondary or tertiary care centers. Check it out.
Dr. Arasu believes that the responsibility to provide health care for refugees should not only fall on the government. The private sector can also play a big role.
We see there are limited resources to the government. So any government of the day, their number one obligation is towards their citizens. So they allocate budget for healthcare. So they need to prioritize. So this is a dilemma faced by the government. How do I prioritize healthcare with the limited resources? Okay, that's much they have. So this is where the private sector can come in. So the private sector can come in with a public-private partnership, what the care clinics is doing. The Malaysian government is trying to achieve universal healthcare. To achieve universal healthcare, everyone has to play a role, including the private sector. What we need to improve the healthcare of refugees in Malaysia is political will and also health policies that encompasses everyone, including undocumented migrants and also refugees.
Despite better living conditions in Malaysia compared to Myanmar, given a choice, some Rohingya refugees want to start a new life in other countries.
Banyak orang balik Amerika. Banyak orang balik New Zealand. Rohingya sini banyak ramai sudah keluar. Sekarang yang masuk ini semua baru punya Rohingya. Lama punya orang banyak je Quran. Macam kita member semua sudah luar negeri. Dia orang selalu 24 jam telefon bagi tahu kita. Ayah sudah pergi kerja. Ayah tak payah fikir anak saya balik ke tak balik ke. Anak saya sudah dapat sekolah ke, sudah dapat makan ke, semua tak payah fikir. Semua kerajaan bantu. Semua kerajaan tolong.
Shamsul has been living in Malaysia for the past 13 years. He's raised 2 children with his wife. Still, he dreams of moving to another country for the sake of his children.
Saya 2-3 kali pergi inquiry, UN pergi inquiry, bagi tahu dia saya tak mau duduk Malaysia lagi, saya mau pergi luar negara, bukan Amerika. Luar negara mana tempat you orang hantar kita pergi, saya mau dokumen. Officer kan dia minta tanya sama saya, you sebab apa pasal balik luar negara? Saya mau ini macam, saya susah cari makan sini. Saya mana satu, saya punya anak, sekolah tak boleh sini. Satu dokumen tak ada, apa pun tak ada, saya pun tak ada. Saya kenderaan pun bawa tak boleh. Saya you orang minta tolong, saya mau pergi luar negara. Saya hantar email, hantar fax laju, hantar fax, sudah 2 tahun. Baru dia bagi appointment. Tak ada apa-apa lagi sekarang pun. Inilah I hantar ke surat UN. So I am appealing to UNHCR office to resettle to third country. This is inform you are that I am with family and living in a house solution in Malaysia. Ini hantar sudah 2 tahun. Fus laju pun saya kurang-kurang 10 hantar ada.
If successful, Shamsul's family will be resettled to a country that is a signatory of the UN Refugee Convention, which gives them full rights as refugees. His family will then be issued documents certifying their status as refugees, and they will be allowed to work and be given access to public health care and education.
Kita tengok depan punya fikiran. Saya boleh separuh sudah habis saya punya umur. Lagi separuh saya punya saya tak ada fikir. Saya fikir untuk anak. Saya punya anak macam mana hidupan dalam dunia ini. Lepas itu saya pilih harapan pergi Amerika. Saya punya kawan ramai sana. Dia cakap sana dia orang duduk kan. Dia orang medical check up free dapat. Dia test screen dapat tahun-tahun. Kerja-kerja tu anak punya itu free semua. Aman sikit sana.
However, other members of the Rohingya community still prefer to remain in Malaysia, having built up roots in this country.
Macam mana pun saya mau pergi Amerika, mau pergi New Zealand, mau pergi Kanada, mana-mana pun saya tak pergi sebab saya ni sebagai negara Islam. Siang malam saya mana dengar azan, mau lupakan agama, mau lupakan belajarkan yang bukan-bukan. Saya sini tengok orang semua aman duduk, ataupun India ke China ke Melayu ke sana semua tengok sangat aman. Saya berfikiran lebih pada ini mungkin masa depan tak boleh yang luar benda yang luar negeri-negeri yang lain tak boleh dapat yang baik.
But Hashim does harbor one wish for his children.
Saya fikir saya mana mungkin malam-malam makin lama mungkin boleh jadi warga negara Malaysia lah. Saya mau minta tolong bantuan dari kerajaan Malaysia. Biar anak saya boleh cakap, saya lahir di Malaysia, saya akan minta tolong pada kerajaan, saya akan jadi warga negara Malaysia. Saya tak mau jadi akan warga negara Myanmar.
Until the Rohingya are confident that they can return to Myanmar in a safe and dignified manner, they will not make the journey back to their country of origin. Instead, they will have to find ways to survive wherever they are. For now, many Rohingya refugees regard Malaysia as their new home, a place to start over and rebuild their lives from scratch. For better or for worse.